The second video on reported speech has as its topics reported speech with questions, WH question words, orders, and requests. Let's look at the questions. The introductory verb in these cases is ask. Tom asked me what time I was leaving. With WH question words, the sentence follows this form. The WH question word plus the subject plus the affirmative or negative verb. As you can see in this chart then, in the direct speech we have, what's your phone number? She asked me what my phone number was. What's the date, please? He asked me what the date was. Who did you meet yesterday? Sue asked us who we met or had met the day before. As you can see, because the introductory verb is in the past simple, as we have seen before, the other verb changes as well in the same way. In all three cases, you have the examples for orders and requests. In the case of orders, the introductory verbs are to tell and to order, whereas for polite request we use to ask. The doctor told me to stay in bed one more day. Tim asked his brother not to open the window because he was cold. Notice that in such cases we have the introductory verb, either ordered or told, followed by the infinitive to stay. We have the infinitive when we have the base form of the verb preceded by to. The same happens with the polite request. Tim asked his brother not to open the window. Not to open is the negative form of the imperative. The negation is said before to. The verb to ask, as you can see, replaces the modal verbs used in polite requests. So, if in the direct speech I will have, could you pass the salt, please? In the reported speech, I will change it into, Mr. Ross asked me to pass him the salt. There are other verbs used in the reported speech as introductory verbs. We will just mention the most common so that we can understand how the setup of the sentences are. In case of invite, forbid, remind, and advise, we will have the verb followed by the object and then the infinitive. So, Dave invited me to go to the cinema. Dad forbade me to use his computer, and so on. However, what we must underline is that the introductory verb of the reported speech replaces the communicated part of the sentence. In other words, it replaces would you like, you mustn't, don't forget, you would, that refer, as we have seen, to the verbs invite, forbid, remind, or advise. Very well. Other verbs could be refuse, promise, offer, threaten. In this case, we just have the verb plus the infinitive. He refused to go. I promised to study. She offered to help. The manager threatened to dismiss him, and so on. In the negative sentence, remember the imperative has to be preceded by the negation not. Some more verbs could be reply, answer, add, explain, agree, state, complain. In these cases, we have the verb plus that. As you can see, that can be omitted, plus the sentence. He explained that his company exported to China. He agreed that I was right. The accused stated that he was innocent. As you can see, you have the subject, the verb of these verbs listed here, followed by the regular sentence. For apologize instead, we use the ing ending. So he apologized for being late. It has the verb that follows the introductory verb has to always be in the ing form. For suggest, deny, and admit, we have two different ways of setting up the sentence. Now, if in this reported sentence the subject of the introductory verb is the same as the one of the reported speech, it doesn't change. It doesn't change, and we have the ing ending. So he admitted taking the money. She denied stealing the painting. As you can see, the verb is in the ing form. If, on the other hand, the two subjects are different, we will have this setup: verb plus that plus sentence. He admitted that the car was his. She denied that the bag was hers. Therefore, ing ending form for the verbs in this case, the regular sentence if the two subjects are different. Let's take a look now at the reported speech with if and whether. Questions in the reported speech that are not introduced by WH question words will be introduced by either if or whether, and the structure followed is the following. Did you see Mary? She asked whether I saw or if I had seen Mary. Very simple, really, as you can see. Finally, the use of conditionals in reported speech or future in the past. If we need to speak about an action that happens in the future of a past action in the reported speech, we use the conditional present and the conditional past. In which cases do we use these two different forms? If the time to carry out an action that is not yet concluded in the past, and therefore the action is possible, we will use the conditional present. Yesterday, Mary said she would soon buy a car. She doesn't say when. The action took place yesterday. In other words, Mary said this yesterday. But buying a car takes some time. So the action is not concluded with the ending of yesterday. However, if the time to carry out the action is already over, regardless if the action has already been carried out or not, we will use the conditional past. So Julie told me she would have gone to the reception yesterday, but in fact, I don't know if she actually did go to the reception. Therefore, we've used the conditional past. What happens with the use of modals? How do they change? This is a table that gives you exactly how every single modal verb changes from the direct speech to the reported speech. It's good to keep at hand so that you can consult it as needed. Pay attention to these three notices. Would have to is used in the reported speech when we want to convey an imperative, a duty. So she said in the direct speech, I must get up early tomorrow. In the reported speech, it becomes, she said that she would have to get up early the day after. Must doesn't change in the reported speech when it conveys a recommendation or prohibition. Dad told Jim he must close the front door. Modal verbs such as could, might, should, ought to, needn't, and the expressions had better, would rather don't change from the direct speech to the reported speech. So, if in the direct speech I say I could swim 10 lengths when I was 20, in the reported speech the sentence remains the same. He said that he could swim 10 lengths when he was 20. I apologize for some of the spelling errors that are in this document. They are unfortunately typos that sometimes take place, especially when you are in a hurry.